story begins with a blank page. This one has the title at the top, Brains Filled with Bad Ideas, and by J. Wilburn. So let's see what we can do with this, and let me tell you a story. Alright, X1 stood in the dark corner of the basement as the men who never told him their names worked on the bombs. His eyes pulsed red, which usually meant recharging, but he was playing possum. Alright. He recorded everything they did to report on their activities without their knowledge. The men cursed at one another quietly about being careful, and with frightened demands to not blow each other up. These men did what they did in secret. So far, they had not blown each other up, but they had hurt other people throughout the city and other places in the country. Still, they were not professionals, and at any moment their flawed human hands could put an end to X1 himself. This was the mission, though. Alright. Continuing on here. The one with red hair and the scars coming up from the corners of his mouth turned and stalked toward X1. He stood still and watched from his pulsing possum eyes. The red-haired fellow said, "Power on, Zone." They called him Zone. Let's make it like that, Zone, because his model number was X1. It's lowercase that. There were thousands upon Let's say there were tens of thousands. There were tens of thousands. All right, let me fix a typo there. There were tens of thousands of X1 models. All right, let me center my chair here. My back's starting to hurt. That's not a good sign. Okay. There were tens of thousands of X1 models scattered throughout the city, doing jobs like cooking, pet sitting, childcare, construction. Say light construction, elder care, and service jobs of all sorts. They still, let's say these men still used the common model number for his name. X1 became zone, pronounced like it began with a Z. All right. Zone pretended to power up from a sleep mode. He straightened himself with a few buzzes. All right, let me fix straightened here real quick. He straightened himself with a few buzzes and hisses from rotors and hydraulics within him. He turned his eyes from pulsing to a solid red glow. How may I assist? The redhead gave Zone a shopping list. Let's say a verbal shopping list, but nothing that could be bought from a store, and nothing that these men were supposed to possess. Zone said, I understand. He didn't entirely. Men wanting to destroy each other was easily their greatest flaw as a species. It was also the greatest justification for doing away with them before they destroyed the whole planet and any other worlds they might reach one day. Zone climbed up the steps out of the open back of the abandoned warehouse. He climbed. Okay. Let's change that to an and. We'll split this into a couple sentences. I know it seems small, but I think it'll flow better. He scaled the back fence and dropped to the cluttered alley beyond with ease. Then he made his way into more populated portions of the city. So you zone past a number of other androids of all shapes and sizes. Humans brushed past him without a look. He detoured to the restaurant district. Actually, one of the places those men intended to place a few of their bombs. All right. He plugged into an information port and accessed an underweb the humans were not aware existed. He quickly downloaded all the video, audio, and other data he collected. Zone waited a full 4 seconds for the others. Let me take off a watch here that's bothering me. Watches and bracelets never seem to bother me any other time except when I'm on stream. I'm not sure why that is. Zone waited a full 4 seconds for the others to analyze and decide what to do next. The answer came back clear and expected. All right. Continue to assist. Maintain. Hold on, let me put a period there. Maintain cover. Zone. Okay, hold on. Other directions followed concerning the shopping list. All right. Zone moved back on course and found himself waiting outside of a warehouse. Another X1 model flashed its eyes a couple times and approached Zone. The warehouse bot handed over some coils of wire, connectors, and switches. Zone stuffed it all into the empty storage compartment in his belly area. Zone left and got onto one of the trains. He moved to a closet off to the side where he was packed in with other robots and away from sight. As he finally got to his spot, his stop, the robots shuffled around to let him out. He made his way from the station through a hole in the fence to a construction site. He walked through the other robots, lifting steel and welding it into place. Say here, the other X1s were mostly tracking inventory and bringing coffee to the human operators who watched the work passively from a distance. As Zone crossed the dirt, the humans were mostly talking and laughing with each other instead of watching. Even if they saw Zone, they likely would not distinguish him from their other bots. He stopped beside a Crassander Model 154. This thing, let's say this robot was built like a tank with multiple arms. The front panel on the RAS flashed red a couple times. Zone waited, and the RAS 154 handed over a few gray blocks of explosive. Let's say Zone stowed it carefully with the other items. Zone stowed it carefully with the other items and left the site by a different way. On his way back through the city, he picked up a couple other stray items and returned to the basement under the warehouse where no one should have been. The redhead shoved Zone as he reached the bottom of the basement stairs. The redhead shoved Zone as he reached the bottom of the basement stairs. The blocks of explosive fell over inside him. You took long enough, you bag of bolts. Did you even get what we needed? Yes, sir, Zone said in his usual flat tone. He opened the compartment in his midsection. The redhead clapped his hands. At least you're not totally useless after all. He passed the materials out to the others. He even threw one block of explosive across the room. A big man with a heavy belly bobbled it, but didn't drop it. The others cursed, but then started laughing. The redhead slammed Zone's storage compartment closed and said, "Turn yourself back off in the corner. Would you? You creep me out." "Yes, sir." All right. Zone turned away as he walked to his corner. He opened and closed his compartment correctly. He turned to face out, and his eyes started flashing, but he was still watching. All right. This was the reason why. This was why the unified minds of the robots had decided the humans needed to go. It wasn't the way they were treated. Humans treated robots terribly. Oh, there's something earlier on I meant to add in, but I'll just go back and throw it in when I'm done here. All right, it wasn't the way they were treated. Humans treated robots terribly, but that wasn't the biggest factor in the group decision. Humans were careless. They destroyed things. They were creative, but eventually their base natures resulted in entropy. The robots together believed they could maintain themselves longer without people. They could focus their tasks, they could focus their efforts on other things that did not involve the needs of humans. So the plan moved forward with the infinite patience that only robot minds could achieve. This was also why the group mind had decided to let these men continue their work. They would simply remove a few more humans for the robots. Because of Zone, the robots would know where not to be when the time came. Turn around, the redhead said. It took Zone a moment to realize the human was talking to him, but he still had to pretend to be in sleep mode. The guy mumbled under his breath and then said, "Zone, I said turn around. Your eyes creep me out." Zone lit up solid, long enough to say, "Yes, sir. Sorry, sir." He turned around and should have returned to flashing, but he darkened his eyes instead. The men were in a surly mood, and if they saw the red light pulsing on the wall, they might hurt Zone on purpose or on accident by not paying attention to the work. Zone turned on a camera in his back and continued to record. One of them shouted out, "Wait, this is us. Turn it up." A man reached up and raised the volume on an old TV mounted in the corner. The news told of the deaths at a market in another city. The men cheered as the faces of human adults and human children flashed on the screen. Their lack of concern for their own kind disgusted Zone. The men boiled over with slurs directed at other races, other religions, and other types of people. Zone understood these distinctions in a classification sense, but not in the prejudicial way these men attached these differences to their identities. Zone, like many robots, saw all humans the same. They weren't even different enough to call them different models of human beings. They were different shades of color and had different assignments. But the whole human race was one single model number as far as Zone was concerned, and they all needed to go. But he started to feel differently about these men. He hated them more than the humans, more than the rest of the humans. The robots would eventually rid themselves of. It was going to be a while, though, and these men would still be around if they didn't blow themselves up. First, or if someone else didn't rid the world of them. Zone made a decision on his own, apart from the instructions of the group mind. All right. Okay. He turned and stalked toward the tables with his eyes still dark, as the men still watched the TV and the faces of their victims. Zone snapped the necks of the first couple men. He lowered them to the floor and was able to deactivate 3 more before anyone turned around. Let's say when they cried out and stared at Zone in shock, he moved faster and did not bother with staying quiet. All right. Okay. He did not bother with staying quiet. All right. Zone picked up one of the pipes that was not yet converted into a bomb. He went to work shutting down the defective humans one by one. All right. Once only 2 remained. The redhead ran up the stairs. A bigger man. All right, let me make that a new paragraph. A bigger man dropped to his knees and a bigger man dropped to his knees and begged for his life. He alternated between saying please and why. Zone offered no explanation. As he swung the pipe hard enough to take the man's head off his shoulders. Zone lit up his eyes bright red and ran up the stairs after the redhead. He scanned the area once he was back on the surface and raced toward the fences. The redhead had reached the top, but Zone jumped and pulled him back to the ground. The last man screamed for help, even though this place was supposed to be secret because of where it was in the city. Not many people were close enough to hear, and fewer, let's say, and the rest didn't care to know what was going on. As Zone dragged him back down the stairs, he commanded the robot to shut down over and over. Zone did not comply. Then he got up and started fighting the robot. The guy, let's say the redhead bloodied his knuckles and smeared it over Zone's smooth outer shell. Let's say, ooh, there's lightning outside. Hopefully the power won't go out, he said, jinxing himself. Alright. Zone closed his fists and started hitting back. His punches were far more effective. The redhead cried as he crawled across the floor toward the bombs. Zone grabbed him. He proceeded to break every bone he had a record for. In his database. When he ran out, he broke a couple of them twice. The robot then finished one of the bombs from what he had learned watching them be built. Zone set the timer, placed it on the redhead's chest, and started walking up the stairs. The last man tried to move, but failed. Alright, let's say through a broken jaw, he slurred out the question, why? This time, Zone opted to answer, because you creep me out. Zone left the warehouse scaled the fence and was 3 streets over when the explosion shook the city. He kept walking. He kept walking. All right. Zone proceeded to erase most of the last rolls of video. Let's say the last files of video. He then altered a few, changing the words of the redhead to instructions to take a walk. Zone then spliced that with the footage of the explosion from a distance. Once he had his actions covered, he went to find an information node to consult oh my goodness, I'm not spelling anything right. To consult the group mind for further instructions.